Welcome everybody, and yeah, thank you for being here. Let me put this in my pocket so I don't lose it. I woke up a little sick today, so I apologize if I mix up my words today. But ultimately, these events aren't really about the speaker; they're really about the audience. And I wanted to share, I've been coming to these events for 6 years. The first event I went to was in Oakland, California, and it was this performing artist, Naima Shalhoub, and just looking back at all of the events I attended, I had just forgotten how much that impacted me. A lot of these events I don't really remember what was said, but I always remember like what I felt afterwards, and more importantly, like who I connected with. And this year alone, beginning in January, I happened to be in San Francisco during the CreativeMornings events, and I also attended that. Same thing in London in February. So this entire year I've had an overdose of CreativeMornings, and I can never have enough of it. Before you answer this question, I just want to encourage you that anytime you come here, that you do two things. One is like always try to reach out to someone that you've never met, and the second is that you're open for others reaching out to you. And I especially want to thank like the group of volunteers and the host and the bakery today, because I think these spaces are rare these days. Like when people get to connect in person, and we'll go a little bit into that today. So I think right now would be like just a good time to say hello to someone that you sitting next to you that you may not, ideally someone you haven't met before, and just take the next couple of minutes to just answer this question: what brings you here today? All right, I guess I'll just encourage everyone to keep talking afterwards. As I had mentioned before, I think it's the value of coming to these events is always like meeting someone new and sparking ideas. I have so many examples of people I've met here before who I consider to be friends today. And when I went to both San Francisco and London, it was just crazy, just how many people I knew, and I feel like that's something that's really missing today and very precious. So I think the topic of cycles is actually very appropriate because this is December. It is we're facing the darkest days in Sweden, and next month I think the sunrise will be like an hour earlier. So it's just a really good time to reflect on the year and this the cycle of 2024 and the new one. So I want to start talking about my story, basically when I was growing up I was born in Bogota in Colombia, and there was a lot of change happening in the 90s around the time I was a child. That really inspired me and had a big influence in me. We started changing our old bus system, just the old smelly buses, into like a new system called the Bus Rapid Transit, which is kind of like a metro system, but it's replaced. But it just works with buses and instead of rails. And I started also seeing just a lot of changes in the city, like the bike paths. So today Bogota actually has like 564 kilometers of bike paths. I think it's the largest in the Americas, all the way from the United States to Argentina. And then I started seeing parks being developed everywhere. There was a lot of green spaces. There was a lot of libraries around this period. And I was always curious. I mean, I knew as a child like this was something that was really impacting me in my growth, and I'm a very sensitive person. So there's two people that attribute who can be attributed for this change to two mayors in particular. We'll call the first person a mystery man super citizen because he'll come back later in the story. And the second one is Enrique. We'll just leave him. So again, I felt that in order to change society, like the built environment really plays a big role, and it did play a big role in me. And I started my journey working as an architect, and I was very privileged early on to work on some incredible projects. So I got to work on train stations. This in particular one is the train stations in Doha, Qatar. The other one is in Arnhem in the Netherlands. Just offices, projects. One of them is a bank in the Netherlands as well. Another one is a master plan in Hamburg. This is a museum I got to also be a part of with a company called UN Studio. And then I also got to work in China as well. And this is the one above is a park in Taichung in Taiwan. And this is, I think, where the story kind of takes a turn for me in terms of like my reflection and like in terms of how I view the built environment. And I'm just sort of curious to get your input on this because I think there's something wrong with this picture. So I was very lucky that I by chance I happened to work with a skyscraper guy, a guy named Adrian Smith, apologies, and all he does is skyscrapers. You probably have heard of the Burj Khalifa. This project in particular is going to be a 1 kilometer tall building called the Jeddah Tower in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And I just want to kind of get your like what is wrong with this picture? Like if anybody has any feelings that arise from just looking at this picture, like maybe something like a reflection of society, something that you think, okay, we may not be going in the right path. Does anything come up for anybody here?
It just looks very isolated without its own connected to what's going on.
Very isolating.
A little bit scary because it's like airplane level.
Scary because it's incredibly high and yeah, true. Yes?
It feels like we're puncturing pristine nature.
It feels like puncturing pristine nature. Wow. I never thought of that, but that's actually a really good point. It doesn't look safe, right? Like you can fall in this and just hurt yourself. So I think what happens is that what I realized, I guess, through this project is that, first of all, humans are not supposed to be so high off the ground. There's a reason why, like, we use the word grounded to, why it has a meaning. And second, what I realized is that maybe the built environment isn't the problem. Maybe it's more of a symptom. Maybe there's other problems like ego or like, we want to be the tallest and the biggest and the highest. And so maybe a change doesn't happen with the built environment. The built environment is simply a result of other decisions that we make before that. So then I started thinking about, okay, how else can I have influence, but not in the built environment? So I went back in my thinking about my childhood and the two mayors that were a big part of the Colombian story, of the Bogota story. And perhaps this second guy, Enrique, who was credited for transforming the built environment in Bogota, perhaps something needed to happen before, and it was a change, a cultural change. And so this guy, the super citizen, this guy, believe it or not, he became the mayor of our city. He's from Lithuanian roots. He was an educator, didn't come from a traditional political background. He was a mathematician, and his mother didn't even speak Spanish. And I think radical ideas are more likely to come from places like this. So what did he do during his mayorship? He hired mimes to control traffic. So when people cross the street and weren't following the rules, the mimes would go out and like ridicule people or like try to kind of make people feel embarrassed, and then they would learn this way. He started encouraging people to report when taxi drivers were doing. He wanted to encourage people good behavior. One of the things that happens in holidays is that people would generally party too much, and that would result in like more casualties. So he implemented a midnight curfew, and also he invented Women's Night at a time when, especially in Latin America, it wasn't safe for women to be out. Very non-traditional ideas. And so what happened during his mayorship is he transformed the city by lowering crime. Corruption was at an all-time low. The traffic improved massively. The air quality used to be so bad in the 80s. Bogota used to be one of the most dangerous cities in the world, not just Latin America. But here's something that I think is key to this talk is he awoke citizens to be co-creators and co-owners of a brand new identity. And I think it's this identity that when we think about our cities or when we think about where we live, that we ought to like reflect on. And so I go back to this image because I think it's metaphorically not just it's not just being up in the sky, and it's like, to me this feels more of a metaphor of us in our today, like when not being connected, like arriving this morning today, and you probably relate to this, is that more and more we're less connected, we're less present, and again this is why like spaces like these are important. And I would love to, again, this presentation isn't so much about me. And this is, I hope that somehow when you hear me speak, something connects to you and you can relate to something that you hear. But I'm curious to know if you agree with me, if you agree that perhaps we are lacking this presence and connection, and that because I'm guilty of the same things, when it's late at night and I'm taking the metro, I feel very tempted to put my headphones on, especially as I'm learning Swedish. I find that, I don't feel bad because I really need to learn this language, and I'm being productive as I'm, going in the subway. But I'm just curious to put this question out there for you, and perhaps you do this exercise again of talking to either the same person or a different person. Do you think that do you believe in this idea that we should be more present, or is there some value in using our time wisely and doing other things? So I'll leave another couple of minutes for you to chat this out and see what comes up. All right. We can... Just kind of curious if anything came up from the conversations that you've had, if anybody has anything to share. Okay, Adam.
Yeah, we were talking about how there's maybe just different levels or layers of things that get in the way. So I think one thing is maybe personal anxieties, that people can't be present and be with each other. Secondly is obviously technology. And thirdly, on a cultural level as well. I'm not blaming Swedish culture, but it's more individualistic. So you don't necessarily ask people for help as well. So I think there's just different.
But do you say that as something that we should embrace? The Swedish culture sort of allows.
That it doesn't allow you to be more present with each other and observe what's going on. It's more focusing on your own, being in your own bubble. But
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it starts with yourself. If you are observing and like try to interact, the interaction will come because people, like 99% of the people, will love to talk to you. I think that's like what I have observed. When I ask people about stuff in the grocery store, like how do you prepare this food, they will start to you just ask for help, people will help you wherever you are in the world.
What about something more casual, or what about because it seems like every time you're asking for directions or you're asking for help, perhaps people are willing to engage with you. But perhaps if someone's just asking, how is your day going?
If you come to that, you have to have like an icebreaker. I think it would be kind of creepy if I just say, hello, how's your day? But like if I ask like, oh, what did you get this scarf? That's like an icebreaker, and then we can talk about the day and or the week or wherever. So you need something to break the ice, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Well, to answer this question, how present should we be? I think there is no limit for how present we can be. But the thing is, whether we live in the moment or whether we live in our head, that's quite a different thing. For example, when I'm just talking to you, am I aware of my body? Am I aware of what's happening, or do I live just in my head? So when I live in my head, mainly it means that I lose the awareness of my surroundings. But the thing for me, or a constant struggle for I think every human being is like, how are you aware of you are in the situation that you're in, rather than just like I said, being in your head. But it's quite human being, it's quite human that we just live in our head most of the time.
And is that healthy?
Whether that's healthy or not, this is the default.
And should we work? So it is the default, and should we just accept and just allow it to live in that place?
We cannot escape from this, but what we can do, we can increase the gaps or the very short moments that we are aware of what's happening.
Yeah, super wonderful. Anyone else? Oh yeah.
I think maybe gadgets made it worse, like be present, because people like have like automatic and then it's like a barrier maybe because they're concentrated on something, so it's maybe not this eye contact or something. So I think it's a little bit became not as before.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so true that you use the word gadgets, and every day it seems like they're capturing our attention more and more. And I think this is perhaps my hope is that we can buy into some new vision, just like the super citizen, that perhaps. We can change behavior and we can change culture to be more present and also to be aware. Like you said, like you were saying, be more aware that these things are there. And more importantly, I think what most of us miss is that we tend to be very judgmental towards ourselves. That this is why it doesn't really help to judge anybody else because we're all going through the same journey. So one of the, just to sort of wrap up here, and thank you so much for your input. One of the quotes from the mayor, he says, if people understand rules and they're sensitized by art, creativity, and I believe it was humor, then people are more willing to accept change. And I think we need perhaps a little bit more art to, I feel like, sensitize people to learn to be present. And as I mentioned, please feel free to stay afterwards and talk to somebody and connect with somebody. And hopefully I'll leave my information here. So I'm starting essentially a magazine talking about these issues called AIR, and I'm also part of a community called Blivande, and we have open breakfast every Tuesday at 9:30, and this is the kind of place that you can come and have these conversations. So thank you so much for your attention.